What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. A fellow exile. One more fool under Zana's sway. Allow me to destroy you before she has a chance to betray you, too. At least, my way will be quick. You slew my friends! You brought ruin to my world! You have invaded my very sanctum. I should be furious, and yet I feel nothing. How boring and small. Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest. Did you really think this would work? I transcended all this long ago. Feel the thrill of
the void. Why run? What's the point? Your lives are meaningless. Watch beauty crumble.
But now you will fight on my lands. You assumed I share the same weakness as my fellows. And now you come to me. Is it bravery or foolishness? You will long for
non-existence. Rain of stars. Everlasting fire. Glorious flames. Be silent.
Hello Exiles, this is Fusion Gaming and welcome to the channel. Today this is a build guide for Frostblink of Wintry Blast Occultist for 3.23. Just want to do a shout out to my colleague who did the recording of that footage for the showcase, thank you. I couldn't do it just because my build is going to be slightly different, and obviously I'm a completely different Ascendancy now, so I didn't want to confuse viewers by seeing my build and then showing them a completely different build. So thank you for that, and let's crack on with the build guide. Now, as you've just seen from the showcase a second ago, it is a very strong build in terms of mapping and in terms of bossing. I will admit straight off the bat that it is not the tankiest build in the world. There are some occasions that you will just get one tapped and you will get one shot. The best way to think of it is that it is similar to Flicker Strike. It is running at the moment with my gear at around about 40,000 effective H pool, so it's not the highest. I have ran builds that have been in excess of 100,000 and if not more, but obviously it is quite decent. You can tailor the gear if you wanted to make it a little bit more tanky. It's entirely up to you, or you could change the tree around a little bit. All I'm doing is providing you with the best setup that I feel at the moment is best for this build in terms of Occultist. There is a few other variants that I have seen floating around. I am in the middle of switching over to one of them, so it's the same build but a slightly different variant, but I don't know how well that's going to do. I've been told it's more damage, but I'm going to have to try it first of all. So let's crack on straight into this. So first of all, I'm going to start with the tree, and we will start from the starting point. So first of all, we're picking up a pain attunement for spell damage while on low life. We are running Petrified Blood, so that does obviously help us in terms of when we are on low life. Now, my build, I did run an Immutable Force duel, just in case I did get stunned. Then obviously I would not get stunned. The recovery from that stun would be twice, 3 times as fast. And this duel did have Corrupted Blood immunity, which obviously is very, very, very powerful. You do not have to run this duel if you don't want to. I just put it in just because I didn't want to get stunned while cycloning, because as soon as you stop cycloning, you basically don't do any damage. So yeah. Carrying on up, this build was Dex and Strength starved. I was struggling for a bit of both, so I did have to take these two. If you can find it on gear or find it on your clusters, then by all means go ahead and do it. Then you will not need to take these. Obviously, I pick up the crit crit multi cluster. I come over to the side over here, and I was picking up life +3 to crit. And I was picking up the crit strike for spells and crit multi, and then went down here, and I was then running that which was taken duel. I think this is the right, yeah, this is the right one. That which was taken over here, and I was then picking up the recover 2% mana on kill, reduction on mana cost of skills, just so that Cyclone wasn't costing too much money, and then again skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost, and again, recover 2% of life on kill. So there's quite a bit of recovery in terms of leech on kill and leech from my weapon. Carrying on, back up here, we then take a cluster. Up here we have the cluster which is running with the Blanketed Snow, Doriani's Lesson and Prismatic Heart. I will admit this is quite an expensive cluster, mainly for the Blanketed Snow. So don't expect this to be cheap. You're only really taking Blanketed Snow and Doriani's Lesson. I'm then running 2 more clusters. Again, these are not cheap. Was an Astonishing Affliction and an Inspired Oppression, and that is on both sides. Now, when I searched for these, there was only one of these on the entire trade site, so they must be quite rare notables in terms of the actual Astonishing Affliction. They must be quite hard to get. I've not looked at the weightings, but to say that there was only one on the whole trade site kind of made me think that it's not a common roll. So I'm running 2 of them, and then I'm running Forbidden Flame and Flesh for the Shaper of Winter. What that then gives us is it does give us the Elementalist Shaper of Winter, which means that all damage can chill. Obviously it reduces action speed of enemies that you hit, obviously when they are chilled. You have 50% more effective chill, and obviously your chill reduces action speed, so that's obviously always a good one. Obviously these Inspired Oppression and Astonishing Affliction provide obviously duration ailment, effective damaging and non-damaging ailments, which is like your chill, and then increased damage with hits and ailments against enemies that are inflicted by ailments. And obviously that's on both sides, and obviously the other one gives you elemental damage and pretty much exactly the same. Carrying on alongside here, we are then going to be using a Militant Faith. Now I ran one with elemental resistances and increased defenses from Equipped Shield, just to give you a bit of tankiness, and I was struggling with resistances, so I got that. What you really want this duel for though is for it to change Hex Master into Inner Conviction, which is more spell damage per power charge. Now this build does stack power charges, so you are wanting to try and get as many power charges as you can, so that is what you need this for. Carrying on over here, we're picking up this power charge, we're picking up the Deep Thoughts for the increased mana and increased mana regen, and again mana reservation efficiency, because you are running quite a few auras. We're then running life with elemental resistances, and again you count as low life while at 55% of maximum life or below. Now because we're running Petrified Blood, that then makes use of Pain Attunement, so we then get more spell damage. You're then also picking up the power charge cluster here, which obviously gives you cannot be shocked while at maximum power charges. You then picking up all of these and the +1 power charge and increased damage per power charge, which is all power charge related. We're going to come along here. I'm going to just skip this cluster just for a second. We're going to carry on down here. We're picking up the crit cluster here. We're crit against unique enemies. We're picking up the life, increased life, because the chest that we use does not have any life on it, so we have 15% more life. We're picking up sovereignty for the increase and mana reservation and the life reservation efficiency in the middle there. And we are then running power charge, pick up this endurance charge, and we are running a Watcher's Eye with crit strike against while you're affected by hatred, and consecrated ground with zealotry, and also life recovery from flasks by vitality, or you can get the mod that gives you life, I think it's life leech while affected by vitality. So either one of those mods is helpful. Coming back to the cluster, we are running again exactly the same Blanketed Snow, Prismatic Heart, and obviously Widespread Destruction, but we are picking up Prismatic Heart and Blanketed Snow. These two here, these two medium clusters, we are picking up Magnifier and Vast Power. What that does is it gives us crit multi and area of effect and area damage and increased area effect per power charge. Then on the other side, we are running with Basics of Pain and Pressure Points, which gives us critical strike and a potential chance to have double damage and a more increased damage and critical strike chance. The duels that I'm running here is a Blood Notch, so as you saw earlier, we're running Immutable Force. That does give you stun block recovery. This basically states that if we are stunned, 60% of that damage that we take from the stun is then recovered as life. So basically it kind of it's a bit of a defensive mechanism for you. And then the last cluster, which I will state is not cheap. This cluster is a mana reservation efficiency. You are looking for the 35% increased effect, and then ideally you want to try and get anything that you are then missing. So if you are then missing resists, or if you maybe are missing attributes or anything like that. I at the time was missing resists, so I went for resist in this. So each node now gives me 5%, 5%, and 5%. And obviously it does help with the reservation efficiency. In terms of the tree, that is pretty much it. Ascendancy wise, we are going to be going, so first of all, when you are leveling, I would recommend that you go straight for Forbidden Power, then go down, pick up the Void Beacon, and pick up Frigid Wake, and then go over to Unholy Authority. In terms of the items, I am running a Gemini Claw, basically just for the life and the mana hit, mana as well, the life gain per enemy hit. Also, it has a massive amount of strike, global strike multiplier, cold damage, attack speed, crit strike chance. It has leech on there, attack damage, leech does life. It has a chance to freeze, and hits cannot be evaded, which is absolutely massive. It means that monsters cannot evade anything, so every single hit will hit them. Next thing you're running is a Malachai's Loop. Basically that gives you another 2 to your maximum power charges. If you can, I got a max rolled one here, as you can see, 250% and 16% increased spell damage per power charge. Ideally, you want to try and make sure that the increased spell damage per power charge is the main stat that you are looking for. The increased energy shield is just a bonus, but I would always try and get the 16 to try and be as much. You don't need to worry about the chance to gain a power charge because we are using Ralakesh's Impatience boots, which I'll come to in a second, so we are always on maximum power charges, so you're never going to gain or lose any power charges. Now, if you noticed before, I did say, I did put it on there that you cannot be shocked. The reason for this is this shield does shock you when you reach maximum power charges. So the reason why you take that is so that you are not shocked and taking more damage from monsters. So that helps you. Carrying on, helmet will clash. You use with the +1 maximum power charges. Again, you want to make sure that you have the +5% and +5% for block and elemental damage per power charge. That is your main focus. After that, then you want to try and get as high as an evasion and an energy shield as you can. This is relatively cheap. You can probably pick this up for a couple of divines. Bronze Lith. This is for you're trying to abuse the +5 to movement gems. So because Frostblink is a movement gem, you do want to basically try and make the most of getting the levels up. And because it is a spell as well, you are obviously wanting to try and scale that as much as you can. So with this, I did manage to get a double corruption here, and with Frostblink being an AoE skill as well, I got a +2 to the level of socketed AoE gems, and just for a bit more survivability, reduced extra damage from crits. Now the best in slot chest here would be a +2 to the socketed AoE gems and a +1 to socketed gems. Now I do not recommend you try and go for that because at the moment there is only 2 on the trade site and they are both a mirror each. So if you have the money, go ahead, splurge, go spend your money. If not, then a +2 socketed AoE would just do fine. Carrying on, gloves. Because I was a little bit starved, like I said, for Dex, I got some Dex gloves here with some decent resists, cold and lightning. The fizz converted to cold doesn't really matter, but obviously it just came with the gloves. The increased damage hits against chilled enemies is the most important thing that you want to get, because that does massively help you because every single enemy that you hit, you are chilling. So if you then hit them once, they're instantly chilled, then instantly you are then hitting them again, and they then take 48% increased damage. This doesn't necessarily work for normal regular monsters because you should be one-shotting them, but rares and bosses, it helps very much because by the time you get to the second hit, you are already doing 48% increased damage. And then the final mod there is more increased damage during a flask effect. So I have my flasks tuned to that when they are full they trigger, so I am always proccing this increased damage all of the time. Ralakesh Impatience, they are just busted this league in terms of they give you the maximum number of all charges. Now again, if I rolled one here for a corruption just to get another endurance charge, it was relatively cheap. I think it was like 2 divine, but it gives you a little bit more resists and a little bit more survivability. Again, if you don't want to go for that, then just try and get one with as much resists as possible. I'm also using a Badge of the Brotherhood. Now the most important thing that you want to get on this is the increased cooldown per frenzy charge. That is the most important, and it will make you hit your next break point with the skill. So make sure that you get 10% increased cooldown recovery. Now there is one here. I did run this one with the increased attack speed implicit. You don't have to if you don't want to. Because I was Dex and Strength starved, I did eventually roll out of this and I got the one that just had the regular attributes on there, just so I didn't have to keep taking more points for Dex and Strength. Next one is a Amethyst Band. Now I will warn you that this is at least a mirror. This is probably one of the most expensive things in the build. It is a power charge ring. Now if you just check this bad boy out, +1 to power charges, increased spell damage per power charge, and increased intelligence, and that's just the implicits. The rest of the ring has got intelligence, cold damage, lightning damage, attack speed, global crit multi, elemental damage with attack skills. That really is just for the cyclone element of it, and non-channeling have -7 to cost, which is obviously amazing for you. This is Seb K's ring, if anyone wants to know whose ring this is. It is not TFT's, and it is not Spicy Sushi's or Belton's. This is Seb K's. If you want to go and check out those rings, I did check. I did actually go through Belton's and Spicy's and TFT's, and I threw them all in here. And TFT's, as you can imagine, Polly was the best damage, Polly by about 2% more. But literally, was the 300 divine fee worth 2%? No. That is why I went for Seb K. Seb K has a respectable fee of about 90 divines. That's it for this. So he's not basically trying to rip you off with the 300 divine fee. Let's move on. Calandra's Touch. Yes, you do need it, because then you will then literally abuse the fact that you are then running 2 of these rings. So that is then double amazing. And finally, for mapping, Headhunter. If you are running with boss rushing, then you want to be running a Mage Blood. But if you are mapping, then you want to be doing a Headhunter, just for the buffs, that the stacks that it gives you. Carrying on, we then have a Life Flask. Now, I ran one with bleeding, and I ran the one that provided instant recovery while on low life. Now, you are always on low life, so you always have instant recovery, which is 2000 health, which is awesome. We're then running a Bottle of Faith, just for the increased damage when you run Consecrated Ground, and obviously this will always be proccing, but obviously, as you can see down here on the Watcher's Eye, we also had Consecrated Ground, means that enemies take increased damage as well. So as well as the Bottle of Faith, you are also then getting it on the Watcher's Eye, so you're getting up to 20% increased damage if you get a max rolled Watcher's Eye. Then the rest is just a Movement Speed Flask, just for the movement, Granite Flask, just for the armor and survivability, and a Silver Flask, just for the onslaught and the attack speed for Cyclone. In terms of skills, let's go through them now. So, we're going to go straight for the chest first. So, the 6th link that you want to do is Frostblink of Wintry Blast. You want to try and get as high of level of that as you can, with an inspiration. Cyclone, level 21. A Power Charge on crit, level 21. And then again, if you can afford it, an Awaken cast on Critical Strike, 6. And Elemental Focus, level 6. Moving on to the helmet. We're then running a Zealotry, Enlighten, Determination, and Hatred. Now, as you can imagine, this is very expensive. If you already have a level 4 Enlighten, then that's good. If not, then you may struggle to run all of the auras. That's all I'm going to say. I know Enlighten is like 57 Divine at the time of this recording, so it's a case of that if you have the money, then get it. Next thing you want to run is then in the boots, you want to run Frostblink. This is going to be one of your movement skills. So as you're obviously dashing through the screen, if there is a bit of a quiet period where there is no monsters, then this is when you would then use Frostblink. Now, because you have got it linked with Bone Chill and Unbound Ailments and Inspiration, technically, by the time you get to all of this gear, you should be one-shotting packs just with Frostblink. And not with Wintry Blast, but it's entirely up to you. If you want to move fast, the Wintry Blast does bounce around the screen so fast, and it will clear stuff very, very quickly compared to this. Moving on the weapon, we're running with Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, and Petrified Blood. So what that means is that when you hit a rare or unique enemy, they are then going to be taking more crit chance, and they're going to be, you're going to have hits against them, they're going to have more crit chance and more crit multi, and then when they die, you're then going to recover life and mana. Okay? And because of the Mark on Hit, that is how it applies with a rare or unique enemy. Petrified Blood is obviously very strong defensively. It means that obviously you can't recover life above your basically it's above half your low life, basically. So your life goes down to about 50%-ish, 55%. You can't recover above that. Skills bane a base life cost equal to 40% life, 40% of base mana cost while not on low life. Okay, but it's very good in terms of preventing damage, as it says there. When taking damage, 40% of life lost below half life is prevented. Then 75% of life loss prevented is then lost over 4 seconds. So it kind of helps with trying to help not getting one shot. Next thing is gloves. You want to run Frostbite, Curse Ground, Vile Molten Shell, and Precision. Vol Molten Shell, I usually have Molten Shell on left click, and I will have Val Molten Shell on middle click, just in case we're about to go into a big fight or a big pack or a monster, a boss or anything like that, then I would pop that. If you want to put it on a cast when damage setup, you can do, it's entirely up to you. Frostbite and Curse Ground is our curse setup. Now what this does is it will put a massive ring on the floor. Now as it says there, basically the duration of the ring is 35 seconds, and enemies that are on that ground are cursed with that hex. So basically you just need to put it down just before the boss triggers, and then they're then cursed, and then they're cursed for 35 seconds, as long as they stay on the circle, I believe. And then finally you then want to run, obviously like I said, Frostbite, which obviously provides curse enemies less cold resistance, and Precision, which gives you more crit strike chance and accuracy to make sure that you hit enemies. Finally, one of the main things that helps with clear, you want to be running with Herald of Ice, Arrogance and Vitality. So what Arrogance does is it reserves life instead of mana, and you want to run Herald of Ice with it and Vitality at a low level so it doesn't eat all of your life. Now with Herald of Ice is the clear skill that you just saw a minute ago on the showcase, is all those big rings. Now I have the Celestial Herald MTX, so if you want that effect, if you don't have that effect, then you will just get the basic rings that do apply. Okay. Other than that, guys, that is pretty much it in terms of the build. If you have any questions, throw it down in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. As you can see here, it does 335 million damage, and that is against Guardian Pinnacle bosses. If I drop that down to Uber, it is doing 100 million damage against Uber bosses. So it is a very powerful build. But it is very expensive as well. So not to kind of shy away from the fact that it does use a Headhunter, which is like 75 divines at the moment, Calandra's Touch, which is 35 divines, a Power Charge Ring, which depending on where you get it from, minimum a mirror. The chest, if you wanted it to be double implicit, is again another mirror. So it is not a cheap build, but it is a very strong and a very fun build, and I feel that people should have a try of this build before it is definitely going to get nerfed next season. So I feel that people should have a play of this before it gets destroyed by the true GGG ban hammer that they always do, the nerf hammer. They won't hit it once, they won't hit it twice, they'll probably hit it 3 times. So they did that many years ago for Spectral Shield Throw. Everyone was playing it, and then the following league they nerfed the gem twice, and then they nerfed the jewel that you used to run alongside it as well. So they hit it 3 times, and I feel that they may do the same for this, but we will have to wait and see. Other than that, that's it, guys. I will, like I said, I will be looking to do my videos on all league content over the next 2 months. I'm in the middle of kind of gathering all the data that I need. It is a bit of an extensive job, and I want to make sure that when I'm running through them, I want to try and make it as dense of a video as possible, explaining the mechanics, but also I don't want the videos to be like 20 minutes to an hour long. I want them to be around about 10 to 12 minutes maximum, something that you can literally just put on very quickly and understand the mechanic without sitting there for 3 hours. Okay, so just bear with me on these videos. I am preparing the data, and I am going to have to get someone to kind of teach me on one mechanic, because I am very bad at it, and I need someone to basically give me a bit of a crash course on it and teach me everything about it, because it's not something that I am the best on, but I will do my best on explaining it. Other than that, stay sane, Exiles. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the content and you enjoy the videos, throw us a subscribe, throw us a like, and I will see you in the next video.